What's up, guys, and welcome. It's InfernoKun here with a Walking Dead kind of a season 2-ish, 3-ish topic about Determinant characters, what I think about season 2s, as well as what I want to change or to improve Determinant characters in season 3. Characters that can actually die in one episode with one choice, but with another can actually live on throughout the episode or throughout the season, or maybe in the episode, from what Telltale thinks about episode 4. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Now, we had kind of a good list of Determinant characters that can actually happen in season 2. They weren't really the best because they weren't surviving as long as I thought, but hey, that's just what I think about that. So first one we have is P. He was kind of determinate in a way, as what I thought from whenever we were back in episode 1 days, when you go ahead and leave Nick and go with Pete. He dies anyway, so he's not really determinate. He was at the moment, but kind of a iffy thing. But next we have Alvin, who can actually die in season 2 episode 2 and live on just until episode 3. Then we have Nick, who can die in episode 2 and can live on into episode 4. Next we have Sarah, who lives on, well, who can die in episode 4, but then dies anyway no matter what you do in episode 4. So that is just like, when I'm like, what? Why even have save her? But I'll get to that later. But then we have our two determinant characters. Well, we have Bonnie too, because she can actually die in the lake in episode 5. So she's determinate, and whether or not she lives on into season 3 is questionable. But then we have our two determinant characters that happen at the end of the episode. Near the end, we have Kenny and Jane. They're both determinate. Now, let's start with let's start with Alvin. So Alvin, he was, we saved him from getting shot by Carver, if you did, in episode 2. He dies anyway in episode 3 because he gets shot by Hank, and Hank is also a determinant character if you save Alvin. So there we have two determinant characters. We had Alvin, then we have Hank. What was the point? Why? What was the point in having, Alvin kill off Hank when Hank doesn't even come back or doesn't really matter throughout the rest of the season? He just kills Hank, and therefore there we have Hank gone. So it kind of like makes me think, like, there's so much thing we could have done. They locked Alvin away in Carver's office for the whole entirety of episode 3, so he was gone, no interaction or nothing. Saving him was just to see that one scene where you get to spend time with him a little bit and talk about, some stuff. And he kills Hank, which doesn't really matter because Hank doesn't come back if you don't kill him or not. So killing Hank doesn't really mean anything. Then we have Nick, which is probably the second most controversial, killing determinant characters for most people. You save him from getting eaten by a walker in episode 2, but then he dies anyway in episode 4. He has barely any lines, say nothing, did nothing, almost, in episode 3. Then he just runs off, gets shot in the shoulder, and gets, zombified in episode 4. That was one of the most laziest determinate killing off things ever. I mean, I felt kind of indifferent about Nick, didn't really like him too much, but that was still not a good death for him. That was not a good thing, That's kind of, they threw away all that development we had, giving the watch to him and being affected by Pete. That was barely, it was mentioned in episode 2. Episode 3, it barely was. You can speak with him by the bed, and that's pretty much it. But episode 4, he did absolutely nothing, and he died in that episode, which made zero sense of why Telltale even have him terminate in the first place. Why not just kill him off in episode 2 if you weren't going to ignore him for the rest of the season? Then next we have Sarah, who is probably the worst determinant. It was so stupid. We can actually save her from the trailer in episode 4, but probably like 30-45 minutes later, she dies, gets devoured by walkers, and you can't save her. Now, what was even the point of saving her? What was the point of even having that choice there? I mean, yeah, Sarah wasn't the most strongest person. She didn't really get over her dad's death. And yeah, she was kind of a liability. But why even have the choice there if you're not even going to, you know, develop her further? We had the choice where you can actually choose to teach her how to shoot. That could have came in handy in episode 4. I would have been kind of satisfied if that happened, but it didn't. You just threw her character away, you saved her, kept her, talked to her, and then she just goes and dies in episode 4, 45 minutes after you choose to save her or not. So that was kind of a really, really bad one. Probably the worst Determinant killing off things you could have done in Telltale. And then we have Bonnie. Now Bonnie is actually, that one's actually pretty interesting. If Telltale can go ahead and bring back Mike and Arvo in season 3, and then having Bonnie gone, and then seeing how, you know, Mike and Arvo are affected by Bonnie being gone, or seeing how they are affected by Bonnie being with them determinately, that's actually pretty good. Now, you can kill Bonnie by, you know, just not cracking the ice once Luke falls in after you cover him. So yeah, that's pretty much, you know, that one's pretty a solid one. That's just left to be judged until season 3 happens, if Bonnie actually appears, or she doesn't, depending on if you killed her or not. But we'll see about that. That one's actually a open one that I want to see used, because, you know, why kill her off if it was just going to be, you know, to affect the group for like a few minutes, kind of like how Luke was in a second. But, you know, then we have our Determinant characters. Whether you shot Kenny, or you know, let Kenny kill Jane. We have Kenny and Jane both Determinant. Now, whether or not this actually happens, this actually kind of falls into the ending of season 2, whether or not you're gonna actually, you know, kind of see them in season 3, because determinately, you know, we're gonna see how that actually works out. But we have Jane and Kenny. Whether you know, go with Jane, or kill Kenny, or, you know, just go alone or something like that. So we have that. Now, it kind of brings me to my topic. What do I want to see happen with the season 3 Determinant characters? Now, right now, from what I'm seeing, Determinant characters are nothing more than they're being rid off, they're being killed off for no reason, like Sarah and Nick, maybe Alvin. I mean, Alvin kind of had a little bit of purpose if Hank actually mattered, but it kind of depends, you know. So what I want it to be more like, you know, season 1, where you had to choose between Doug and Carly. That was one of the most, you know, brilliant choices in the game. That's one of the reasons why I loved The Walking Dead, because having a choice between this character or that character actually just adds something. You want to save this one or have this one, you can choose which one you like, and they can actually be in the story, play their own part, and have their own kind of outlook on things. You know, you save one or the other, and that's what I like about that. I want to see Telltale improve on that, like actually having more things like that, you know, have some effect on, you know, Rebecca whenever Alvin is dead. So I want to see them actually write in some more this character or this character, maybe even having this character die, depending on what choice you choose. You know, like, kind of like, as an example, like if you were to take the meds from Arvo or not do it, maybe somebody dies if you don't, maybe somebody lives if you do. So that's what I want. I want to have hidden, it sounds kind of bad because I hate these things, but I want to have some kind of hidden consequences for choices where it affects one character dying. That's what I want Determinant lead characters to live if you choose one thing or another. So I feel like they should work on Determinant characters, because these characters actually come into a lot of the potential for the whole season, maybe, because things like, you know, Molly getting shot by Lee, or Clementine shooting that zombie that had Molly, that's something that's pretty good. That's why, you know, season 1 has some of the most kind of best Determinant moments, but I want them to improve on Determinant characters for the most part. So this is after the video, but to make what I'm trying to say more clear, people are looking at Determinant characters in Telltale's games as people who are forgotten, you know, killed off quickly, and all that stuff. I want them to actually change that, make them actually mean something, make them actually show up more, make them mean something, and that's what I want to actually happen to season 3 Determinant characters. So that's what I mean. Tell me your thoughts and opinions on Determinant characters. Tell me your, you know, ideas you would do to improve Determinant characters, how you would make them actually matter more, how would you make them actually, you know, choose between life or death, maybe some hidden choices that actually affect one character, whether he dies or lives. So tell me your thoughts about that. This has been InfernoKun. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for everything. Subscribe for more, and I'm out.